Welcome. Glass was released in 2019 and was directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It stars Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, and James McAvoy, and is the final installment for the trilogy that is the East Trail 177 trilogy, which, if you've never heard of it by that name, it is the final movie in the series that includes Unbreakable, Split, and now Glass. If you want a little plot overview, basically it's about David Dunn finally going after the Horde, and everything doesn't go as planned. And that's all I'm gonna leave it in terms of explaining plot stuff, because I think I went in knowing too much, and it was a little disappointing watching it, knowing all that I didn't know. I didn't know the final twist, but I feel like it was marketed very bad because the trailers give away so much, and just hearing different things about it being disappointing, about audiences leaving upset, seeing the Rotten Tomatoes score be a 36%, which I will say I don't agree with that. But all of these aspects went into me watching this movie last night, and when I left, I will say I was very disappointed with the movie and was very upset with it, to the point where I called my friend Brianna about it and complained a little bit. But I actually recorded a review for this movie, but watched it again, the review first, and decided that I didn't think it was fair what I was saying about it. So I decided to watch the entire movie again, give myself 5 minutes to process it, and then do this review. So if it's a little bit more jumbled than usual, I'm sorry about that. I already feel like it's a little bit more jumbled, but I will say my opinion of it has changed on second viewing, and I lean more towards the side of liking it, which I will explain more in my review. I do want to talk about some of the marketing stuff that they did with this movie before the review. I feel like the trailer showed too much, like I've said, and they showed the trailer so much because of the success of Split. They knew that people were going to want to see this movie. So they just kept on pumping out trailers everywhere. Everywhere when I saw these trailers, I saw it so much. I was so excited to see it. And watching it last night for the first time, every time something would happen, I'd be like, oh, I saw that in the trailer. And by the point where the movie was like 20 minutes left, I kept on saying, oh, I remember that from the trailer. Oh, I remember that from the trailer. Oh, that was also from the trailer. Oh, him doing that was also in the trailer. And it just kind of went down a path of, I shouldn't know this much information from the trailer. I think one of the best movie trailers that I have ever seen was for Avengers Endgame, where they did such a great job not spoiling anything in it and using clips from the previous movies to kind of make it. And I felt like this movie kind of should have taken that approach, because what we got in the end was knowing too much about it before we even started watching it. And I didn't like that. I wish I went in not knowing as much as I did. And I know people are going to say, oh, just avoid the trailer, but it's really hard to avoid trailers sometimes, because you'll be in a movie theater and then they'll just play a preview for it, which that was one place where I saw it. And, YouTube, these ads, always playing it, and usually they have a skip button, but sometimes they'll have the 30-second trailer or the 15-second, and you can't skip it, so you do see it. So yeah, I was upset with, and I don't blame the movie at all for that. I believe it's the marketing. So I've talked long enough about the trailer dilemma, but let's actually talk about this movie. So for me, the biggest pro of this movie is James McAvoy. He does such a phenomenal job portraying all these different personalities, and it was so nice seeing him again. I love Split. As you can see, I have a Pop Funko of the Beast, so cool. But yeah, I love seeing him in this movie. He is a main character in this movie, which, you know, as you should expect. But I'm going to talk about another character who should have been a main character who's kind of pushed to the side in the cons. But he really is showcased in this movie, and he is a big part of it, which he deserves. He is phenomenal in this role. Talk about other acting in this movie. Samuel L. Jackson, once his character gets started, he really carries a lot of it. And a lot of his dialogue is between Kevin and, you know, Mr. Glass, his character. And it's so funny seeing Mr. Glass talk to all these different personalities in different moments. And it's really funny how his character will change when talking to a specific personality. Like, his tone shifts when he talks to Hedwig. It shifts when he talks to the Beast, when he talks to Patricia. All of them, he speaks them in a different way, and it's very cool, and it really shows both Samuel L. Jackson and James McAvoy's range when it comes to acting. I didn't like the fact, though, that Bruce Willis really is pushed to the side in this movie, and it really feels like his character isn't as important when, if you watch Unbreakable, which a little bit of spoiler, I guess, but I really wouldn't classify it as it, when he's the superhero of that movie, and he really gets pushed to the side, and we really don't see much of him. Like, there will be sequences where we see Mr. Glass and the Horde, you know, doing stuff, them in their separate rooms, talking to doctors and stuff. And then about like 30 minutes later, we'll switch to Bruce Willis crying in his room, and then that's it. We don't see him for another 20 minutes, which I didn't like. I really wanted to know what happened to David Dunn between Unbreakable to Glass. And we really don't get to see much of it, or as much as I would have liked. The first 20 minutes does a good job of kind of showing what he's been doing, and that's probably some of my favorite scenes of the movie. It's a lot of fun, action-packed, you know, and then the tone completely shifts once it hits that second act. And the one thing I don't like about that second act is the doctor character. She is a little bit annoying, which I'll talk about more in the cons. But it becomes a little bit more of a slow burn and more psychological, which Marvel movies don't do that. And I'm not trying to compare these movies because they're so different, which I love about it. I'm more so saying that there's the expectation now with superhero movies where everything has to be fast-paced. But in this movie, it takes a different approach, which I really loved about it. And it really shows that M. Night Shyamalan knows what he's doing behind the camera and tries to be different from everybody else, which is something that I do really respect about him. I don't know if that rant was supposed to lead to anywhere. I do know that before I said that they kind of cut down on Bruce Willis's character, which they do, which I really don't like. But I do want to talk about some pros still, with another pro being the representation of characters through color. Color is very evident in this movie. Mr. Glass is represented through the color purple. The Horde is represented through yellow. David Dunn is represented through green. And I brought up the doctor character before, Ellie Staple. She's represented through a lot of like pink and also a brownish tan color, which she usually wears. And it's really cool to see these characters in their different spaces and seeing how that color interacts within it. Like, everything with Mr. Glass is purple, and it'll like shine out and like shine onto people's faces sometimes, that purple brightness. The same with David Dunn. Everything is green. His suit is green. His clothing in the psychiatric ward that they're in, which I guess that's a little bit of a minor spoiler. They show a lot about that. It's not very much so a spoiler, but sorry if that spoiled a little bit. Sorry about that. But his is green. Kevin's, the Horde, his is yellow, his suit, and of course, Mr. Glass, his is purple. Just everything is represented through color, and it's really kind of awesome to see how it plays a role into the movie. and seeing how these colors will blend within each other and just different stuff like that. And it really shows how great of a director M. Night Shyamalan is. How he wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna make a superhero movie and follow the formula that every Marvel movie follows. Because I couldn't tell you in any Marvel movie that a certain color represents something, or, you know, something that deep is in that movie. But in this one, it takes a different approach. It's a slow burn. There's different colors representing different things, and I really like that. It adds a lot of meaning to the movie. The last pro that I have, I've been speaking about it throughout this, but it is the originality and the concept. I love how it doesn't follow the Marvel formula and just goes on a completely different track. And I do really like this movie because it does that. So now that I talked about all those pros, I do want to talk about some cons with the movie. With the first one being Bruce Willis's character, which I've already mentioned, he's pushed to the side. Don't like that. I want to see what happened to his character, and I wanted more of him because it feels like he was neglected the most. And the Beast, the Horde, Kevin has an arc. Mr. Glass, he has an arc. It was missing with Bruce Willis's character. Another con that I have with this movie is Dr. Ellie Staple. I don't know if it was her character itself or if it was the actress, but her character just felt very strange throughout the movie. And there was a lot of scenes where she would say something and I would audibly say, like, okay, like, cool? And it feels like there's a lot of that in this movie. And there's just scenes where, like, she'll be the main focus, and it's like, I don't really care about her. There's nothing making me care about her. She's being very ignorant in a way. She's trying to disprove everything that we've seen in the previous movies. And for us, we know that it's not true, but the characters themselves, you know, they start questioning it. But it becomes very annoying when you watch that for an hour and 30 minutes of the movie, and it's just that. So I kind of see that as a con. And also, her character has way too much explaining. I know this is probably writing, so M. Night Shyamalan, you don't need to explain everything. There's certain stuff you can leave up to interpretation. You don't need her character audibly saying what is happening after we've just watched it. And that happens like 3 or 4 times, and it got very annoying. So, con. My last and biggest con of this movie is the final plot twist. It is very ambitious to M. Night Shyamalan's credit, but I don't feel like it was fully deserved. I feel like it was so out of left field when this stuff happened, and like when the plot twist ends up happening, it automatically shut me down. The first time I watched it, I was like, no, I don't like that. It's stupid. And watching it on second viewing, I thought the same. I really don't like this plot twist, although I don't fully mind how it ends with everything that happens when it ends. I almost did a spoiler right there. I caught myself. But yeah, I don't really like the last plot twist of the movie, which of course I'm not going to spoil. But I think it was very anticlimactic to the slow burn that was happening throughout this movie. And it comes right out of left field. And for me, it just really didn't work. I felt like there had to be more hints of it throughout the movie or even previous movies. But it's just kind of thrown at us, and it is feeling pretty unrealistic and, yeah, undeserved. So, overall, I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. And I do recommend it. You know, that's just my opinion of this movie. You guys can form your own opinions, because who knows, you might actually like this twist. I personally didn't, but you never know. Not everyone is the same, and everyone has different thoughts. So thank you everyone for watching, and sorry that was a pretty long review. I had a lot that I wanted to say, which is apparent. But leave some comments below on some other movies you want me to review. Next week, we're doing it. It's gonna be The Hills Have Eyes. I promise you. If I don't do it, I will do a Wheel of Punishment automatically for the next Wheel of Horror that I record. So I will make sure I do The Hills Have Eyes. But let's flash forward to the next review.